So check it out. Why was Moses' body hotly contested by the devil? We're going to break down the passage, find out why this passage is mysterious, and then what it means for us today. Here's the passage. Jude 1:9 says, "But Michael the Archangel, when he disputed with the devil and argued about the body of Moses, did not dare pronounce against him a railing judgment, but said, 'The Lord rebuke you.'" So let's break it down. Now this is weird. In chapter 9 of his letter, Jude suddenly veers off course and talks about an angelic being named Michael who is arguing with the devil, and they're arguing about the body of Moses. Like what? Where did that come from? And why would Jude, in the middle of his letter to the church, just insert this random story about Moses' body? Well, there are a few questions we have to answer to really understand this passage. First, why did the devil want Moses' body? Second, why was Michael the Archangel sent? And third, what is Jude trying to teach us with this story? So let's take those one at a time. First, why did the devil want Moses' body? Now there are a few possible reasons, and I want you to see how all these answers reveal the heart of the problem. The first possibility is that the devil wanted Moses' body so that he could use it to lead Israel into idolatry, because Israel had a history of venerating objects like the bronze serpent or the golden calf. So if Moses' body had been discovered and put on display, it could have easily become a shrine or an idol that people worshipped instead of God. That's why God commanded that Moses' body should be buried secretly. It says in Deuteronomy 34:5-6, "And afterward, when the Lord spoke to Moses face to face, the children of Israel saw the pillar of cloud standing in the same place, and they were afraid to go forward, to go any further, for the pillar of cloud, which was the Lord's presence, stood before them. Thus the children of Israel journeyed, seeing the pillar of cloud in front of them during the day, a guide to lead the way, which they should follow, and a pillar of fire by night to light them, that they might travel by day and by night." So God buried Moses in secret, so that Satan could not get a hold of his body. The second reason the devil may have wanted Moses' body is because he wanted to discredit God's plan. By getting control of Moses' body, Satan could have twisted it to make it look like Moses was never really chosen by God, or that he was unworthy of the covenant. Or maybe the devil wanted to corrupt Moses' body in some other way, so that he could attack the legacy of Moses and twist it to lead God's people astray. The third reason has to do with spiritual symbolism, and I believe this is the most likely reason why the devil wanted Moses' body. It's because the dispute over Moses' body reveals a larger cosmic battle that's happening between God and Satan. The devil and his demons constantly attack and accuse God's people, and in this case he was accusing Moses. But notice how Michael comes to the rescue. And I want you to notice how Jude describes Michael here. It says he is a great archangel, not just one of the archangels, but the greatest of the heavenly messengers. He is second only to Jesus Christ. So the fact that Michael has to come and argue with the devil to protect Moses' body shows us just how serious this matter was. The devil meant harm to God's people through Moses' body. But in the end, Michael wins the victory and the devil loses. And that's good news for us, because it shows us that even when the devil attacks and accuses us, God is greater, and his angels will come to our rescue. And ultimately, it's proof that God's authority and grace will win every time. That leads us to the second question, and that is, why was Michael the Archangel sent? Well, I think this passage teaches us at least two things. First, it shows us how serious this matter was. The fact that God sent his greatest angel, Michael, to guard Moses' body shows us how important this was. The devil didn't want to just corrupt Moses' body. He wanted to destroy it. But God wouldn't allow that. He sent Michael to make sure that the devil's plans were thwarted. Secondly, this passage shows us that only God has the authority to rebuke Satan. It's interesting that Michael didn't try to rebuke the devil in his own strength, but instead he used the name of the Lord. He said, "The Lord rebuke you," because only God has the power and the right to rebuke Satan. Angels are powerful, no doubt, but they don't have the final say. Only God does. Which brings us to the last question, and that is, what is Jude trying to teach us with this story? Well, there are several lessons we can learn here. First, we learn that only God has the power to defeat Satan. Some people might think that Michael defeated the devil in this passage, but that's not quite right. Michael didn't have any special power. He just had God's backing. It was God who spoke to Moses face to face, not Michael. And it was God who sent Michael to rescue Moses' body, not his own power. In other words, the victory didn't belong to Michael, it belonged to God. Second, we need to remember that even spiritual beings acknowledge God's authority. Michael didn't try to play God or act like God. He knew who was boss. And that should teach us a lesson, that no matter what happens in life, we should remember that God is in control. And finally, Jude wants us to see that God still cares about his people. The devil was trying to hurt God's people by corrupting Moses' body, but God wouldn't allow it. Instead, God sent his greatest angel to protect Moses. He cared too much about his people to let them get hurt. And that's good news for us because it means that God still cares about us today. So what should we take away from this passage? Well, the devil contested Moses' body because he wanted to twist it into a tool for deception, but God intervened. The real lesson is that victory over the enemy doesn't come from our own power, but from God's authority. Are you struggling against temptation right now? Know that God is greater and he will help you. You just have to call on him. So I hope this helps. Until next time, thanks for watching. Be blessed. Remember, Jesus loves you.